Well, welcome back to the Phillips on Farm. I hit the stop button instead of the pause button, so we're going to end up with a part 1 and a part 2 on this video, unless I can figure out how to splice them together, and I'm just not sure that's going to happen. So, what we got left here? We got what's called the saddle, right? It is the chest and abdominal cavity. This was the neck. That was the pelvis. What you got left here are your two tenderloins. I'm going to cut them out. I'm going to split this in half lengthways, and then we're going to have two halves to work off of to make our chops and our loin, and then pretty much everything else is going to be boned out. So let me get these loins out of here real quick. About the size of one you'd find on a deer. I'd say other than the fat on the lamb, you're going to have everything comparable to deer size. So those right there will get trimmed up. They'll be put in a bag. That'll be some fine eating right there. All right, so now what we've got is this half carcass. I am not sure I'm going to be able to do this with the camera on, but we're going to give it a try. With a bandsaw, boy, this would be lickety split. Yeah, so there we were anyway. I'm going to pause this video because this is going to take me a couple of minutes to get through. There's no point in you all watching me struggle. Yeah, so I got off the struggle bus, got out the reciprocating saw. This is a Bauer from Harbor Freight. It is used for nothing but the processing room. I wash it. I wash it in hot soapy water. Sure enough, wash it, and it doesn't last but a year or two before I've burned out the motor. But hey, Harbor Freight lets you buy a 2-year extended warranty. So I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Right. So here's our two halves. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? So what I'm going to do here is cut this. You can kind of see where the end of the loin stops right there on both ends. That end looks like a chop, doesn't it? So I'm going to cut this down about right here. This cut will be angled across here. Try to hold this up about right. So about my finger on both sides. And so the loin end will be smaller cuts because that's just a smaller piece of meat back there than the front shoulder up here where the bigger cuts come from. The ribs stop right in here, and so this is a ribless piece called your loin, and then all your rest of your loin chops will come up here where the rib bones are. So the end of your handle on your loin chops or your pork chops or whatever you're doing is a rib bone. The other thing I'll have to do is chine off this backbone. I'll cut it off with the reciprocating saw too, but can't do that on camera. Way too noisy, just makes a mess. So I'll do the cut. I'll come back here in a second and show it to you, and you'll be able to see it. All right. So So I've got the rib plate separated from the loin and chops. Looks like a side of bacon. Unfortunately, it's about as thick as a pencil. Wouldn't make much bacon. So this would come off. You would have a rack of ribs if you wanted to keep the ribs, and then all the side meat that's left would become ground. In this case, all of this will be ground except for the bones themselves, going in the grind pile. The other piece we're left with looks like a loin, like you might buy from the store. It's got a lot of bone dust on it right now. I have to clean some of that off. But what you'll end up with here, this is the loin portion down this way. I'll cut it off. Let's see if I can turn that camera down here just a little more again. So I've got to finish chining these bones. What I've done is basically removed the spine portion, and now I've just got to come along and remove the rest of the rib portion off the loin. Trying to be careful to leave as much meat on the loin and absolutely as little as I can leave on the bones on the loin end section. On a deer, most of the time I don't even chine these bones. I make it all boneless. But with loin chops, kind of like pork chops, a lot of folks want the handle on your chop, right? Some folks say the bone as it cooks adds some flavor. I don't really know if that's the case with cooking for a limited length of time like most bones are on your barbecue grill. But pull off that piece of bone, goes into the bone pile. That there's money. I'll trim just a little bit of this, take off a little bit of this cartilage right here, not really cartilage, but fat. That'll come off of there, as you can see. I'll trim that off in a minute. And this piece will become your loin chops. I'll stop the camera. I'll finish cutting these real quick, and I'll show you those. That'll be the end of this video. All right, I've cut up the loin and the chops. I'm going to show you those. Yeah, tell me that doesn't look like something good to throw on the grill. We got 10 of the chops with the bone in, right? And then 7 of the boneless loin chops. Something I did want to show you that I forgot to show you in the picture. Right here on the end of these two, there was a piece of the shoulder blade. I'll show you on the end of this one here maybe. So right here is a piece of the shoulder blade, and so when I cut this, what I have to do is I have to pull that piece of the shoulder blade out. It's a little triangle, usually 2 or 3 inches long, and so it is down there in the bottom portion of those 2 chops right there. I just cut it out, and the other thing I cut, let's see if you can see it on this one. That yellow tendon that runs along their back right there is in the top edge of a couple of the chops. So I cut it out here, here, and here, and by the time we got here it had diminished to nothing. So let me see. Yeah, you can't see it in there. So, and then as you get down here it's nothing at all. So yeah, so that is half. Right here's the other half. When I get those cut, I'll end up with 20 lamb chops and 14 loin chops to go in packages as well. This is all the trim I've got. Time I take those ribs out, add this to it, We're going to have maybe 6 or 7 pounds of ground and or cubed for stew. These are all the roasts. These are the 2 tenderloins, 2 sirloins, the neck. Those are the 2 front shoulder roasts. Those are the other 2 front shoulder roasts. And then these are 2 of the from the back ham. And these are the other 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, plus these that are really, I would consider them more of this part of the cut. Time I get those trimmed up, they'll look just like this as far as meat goes. They won't have all the white fat on it. And so you can see you got a pretty good spread. You're going to end up with a lot of meat out of this. I think 78 pounds. Really the only waste is going to be the rib bones themselves, and probably about 3 pounds or 4 pounds of fat that I've cut off to trim up, and the bones off the edge of this spine where I'll cut it off. This was the piece you have to chine this bone. They call it chining. When you cut this piece off right here, you can do this with your bones, with your pork chops. Without that on there, you're free to cut this portion loose. But with that on there, you can't do this. You've got to do a boneless. So if you didn't have enough saws, you could just cut this out all the way down through here. Hold that up a little better. You cut this out all the way down through here against the bone, and you'd end up with a whole lot of this. Every piece of that would be one more piece of this. So you'd end up with all those boneless, and then this little trim around the ends would go into your ground. So if you didn't have a saw that you felt like you could do this with, because this is a lot of work with a hand saw to cut this lengthwise here and also to chine the bone. You pretty well got to have that Sawzall over there. Well, there we are, the sheep video. Hopefully you took something away from this today, something you can use, or maybe just knowledge so that you know what you're getting if you go buy a lamb somewhere at the store. Or if you decide to do one yourself, you can watch this video. I'll tell you, I won't hide my secrets. I'm self-taught. I started with deer, progressed to some pigs, watched some YouTube videos, bought some books, just kept learning, kept cutting, figuring out what worked and what didn't. And I think I do my prettiest work on these lamb. They're not very big. They've got a lot of fat. They make pretty pieces. They're not hard to cut up. 45 minutes and you've got a lamb ready to go, all in the package, with the exception of maybe running your grinder for a few minutes. Trim more of the fat off if you don't like the taste. I'm not sure. So I was reading the other day that lamb fat is made out of a different chemical chain than like beef fat or pork fat. They all are a little different, but they've got something in them, an enzyme of some sort, that some people can taste very strongly. Other people don't seem to taste it much at all. I'm guessing, historically speaking, maybe that's a little bit of why they cooked a lot more of your lamb with mint, was to try to hide that flavor and still be able to use your lambs. Traditionally, they kept the ewes and bred them back for more stock, and the males they castrated and turned them into wethers. And when they got them around 70, 80 pounds, they'd take them off the grain or the grass and they'd butcher them. And by then, you're only looking at 4 to 6 month old lambs. They're not tough. They don't need to hang a long time. These hung a week in the freezer, or in the cooler. Cooler's running 38 degrees. So you can see they've sat in here, they've aged, they've gone through rigor, they've come back out. They're going to be tender. They're going to all be packaged up in vacuum seal bags, just like I did in my sausage video the other day. The only thing you have to do, watch when you do more of this bone-in cut, is you have to watch your bone ends. They will try to poke through your package. If you have that problem, wrap them really tight in several layers of saran wrap, and then wrap them in butcher paper. That's what was done for a couple hundred years, probably, not the saran wrap part, but the butcher paper part. For at least the last probably 150 years, until we got to vacuum sealers in the more recent times. So there's nothing wrong with that. You'll keep freezer burn off your meat. You might not keep it quite as long. I can keep meat a couple of years and it'll look just like the day I packaged it with a vacuum seal if I keep a bone from poking through it. So put your vacuum sealer to work. Make sure you trim your bones. Clean them up good. They'll look good. I can't tell you exactly how to cook them. We just cook them on the barbecue grill or cook them over in a skillet. A little bit of oil and some seasoning, and find what you like. You probably already know what you like on your steaks. Try it on this. Try it on your deer meat. You're the cook. I'm just the butcher. And I'm not even a great one at that, but I'm learning. I appreciate your patience. Hopefully I'm getting a little better with the videos. We're going to keep working on the camera work. Hopefully we're making some headway. Hopefully you're getting something out of these videos, and I sure do appreciate you coming by Phillips on the Farm and spending a little time with me. As always, please subscribe to the channel if you got time. Hit the like button. Leave me a comment. Kind of helps move me up in the algorithm so more people will see the videos. Maybe someday I'll be able to make a difference in more people doing some home processing for themselves or whatever they're doing. I'm not sure. I've got some deer over here. Might do a deer video, but it's not much different than the sheep. So if I decide I'm going to do something different than what the sheep would be cut, I may cut up a deer video. Really, like I said, whatever I'm doing for deer, I'm doing for sheep, vice versa. And pigs are almost identical. The front shoulders go in 3s instead of 2s, and the back ham is usually left in a big piece to cure. So I might do another pork video with a full-size pork next time. I've got a couple other videos in mind. I'm going to do one on my health. I've lost a bunch of weight. I'm feeling way better. I've gone from size 40 pants down to 34s. Bought 36s yesterday. I've got to take them back. They're too big. I haven't worn 34s since 10th grade of high school. That's been 30, coming up on 35 years since I wore size 34 pants. So I think I was probably a little more athletic cut back then too. But either way, I've done some things that have changed my life as far as my eating habits have gone. It's making a huge difference. Gone from 227 to 194, 194.5, somewhere right in there, bouncing around those days. And I'm going to lose another 15 pounds at least. I've still got more pudge than I thought I'd have at this weight. And I'm going to get rid of it. And I'll tell you how I'm doing it and how it might work for you and why I'm doing it. So I appreciate y'all coming by. Thanks for stopping by on Phillips on the Farm. God bless y'all. We'll talk to you again soon.